I just got to make sure my machines are up and running. They are at heat right now. I've done a full Conturo setup and usage before. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick review on the Conturo, and I'm just going to take my tape like this, and I got 1 millimeter tape. This is going to be important for the table. Okay, 1 millimeter. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to snap it a couple fingers here, couple fingers here. Right? Set it up in my Conturo. And when you're doing a board like this, you'll see how I have it on here. See the width of the plate right here? Okay, that's really important because we're going to be using a table in a few minutes. But when you set up the Conturo, see this little channel right here? And this is some of the things I answer offline all the time. Hey, it doesn't seem like it's grabbing my banding. Well, this is the part that's getting the glue. And you see how it's tight? I back it off one click. This is my go button. And I'm going to hit that. And you'll see it's going to grab my banding. Right? And then I'm just going to start it like this. This is my go button. The trigger is for your speed. Here's my go button. And you're going to see it's starting to feed. And I'm just going to take that. And I'm just going to let the feed roller, you don't have to pull this. I'm going to let that feed roller guide me and drive me. Whoop, 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 whoop. And as I come off in a single line just like this. I'm not going to go through all the trimming today, but that is on there. And if Chris, you can come in here, this is the beauty of the Conturo. You're going to see a bunch of little lines. See the little lines in there, Derek, on the video? You can see them. So what happens is, you know that feed roll I was telling you? It's also your burnisher. I don't have to rub this in. That's actually taking that, pushing and giving you pressure on here. So that takes those and fills all those valleys of the line so you have a perfect adherence of that glue. It's EVA glue. It's the same glue they use in on those big machines. And you're ready to go. That's your applicator. I got so much planned this summer. I got 2 other lives planned with the Conturo, so I'll answer all your questions then as well. Okay, so you have that, right? And I'm doing all my sides, my tops and bottoms, all kinds of stuff. But then I get presented with like this. Say it's a spanner at the top of a frameless cabinet, okay? Or it's several of these to construct a drawer box. All right, so let me clamp this up like this. Let me clamp this up like this. What gets in the way? Even if I had a Vaxis, this is not big enough, okay? So just like what? A router table. If you have small pieces, you're not gonna do that handheld with a router. You're gonna do what? You're gonna take it to a router table. Same thing with this. This is too small to run on the Conturo handheld, so we made a table for small pieces. Now I'm going to coach you on a couple of things here. All right? In the catalog, it shows where you can, if you have an MFT, you can buy the top, the angle unit. Okay, don't do that. Just buy the whole MFT Conturo table or the Conturo MFT because it comes complete with its own frame. Underneath here, Chris, it comes with cross braces. I went over that recently. Okay, it comes with the angle unit. This is so much more for just doing small pieces. Okay, it comes with the tapped top. Okay, and yes, it comes with a certain amount of these, which bring it at the right height to run banding, to give you the offset for the bottom part of the banding. But you can also buy more of these if you want to trick out the entire table. You can move them around if you're going to do something circular. All right, so it doesn't interfere with your circle and your banding that you've applied. All kinds of things we can go over with this. Today I'm just going to do a small piece, but I also want to do a beveled piece with you. So let's talk about it. There's a roller here. That's basically your second burnisher. Okay, that helps you apply or put pressure on the banding to spread out those lines of glue. This here is you'll see that's 1, 2, 3, and 0.5. This is, you set it to the front for the thickness of your banding. So I just did that 1 millimeter thick banding. I'm going to set it at 1, so we're all set up. So you take your Conturo and you take your plate off, but even more important, take the knob that holds the plate in, because that will interfere when we're doing beveled goods. I like to take it up. There's two knobs back here. Hopefully we can see them. Right here, you got them? Right here and right here. I loosen this one, I leave one taut, I bring it up to a certain degree, and you're gonna see these two pieces here. Those hold and they slide in right here. Right here, I'll flip it over, and right here. So I'll just take that, lift it up. Whoopsie, I'm gonna get my glue pot here. Keep that on. There we go, just like that. And I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna slide it into those grooves. See it? Just like this. While I have it here, I'm gonna take these two green pieces, see them? And I'm gonna slide them in, and that locks the Conturo in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna bring it down to 0, and I'm basically ready to go. I'm gonna lock that knob and lock this knob. The assembly of this is very straightforward. You have to attach this piece. I'll show you what this is in a minute, and you gotta put this roller on. So I'm just gonna take it. Woo! Now let me grab my 1mm banding. Oh my God, look at all the people today, Minnie.
I know, it's wonderful.
Check it out. This is 18mm thick material. So I choose 20mm tall banding. Okay, and I'm just gonna bring it in. I'm gonna snap this just like this and like this. Give me a little leeway. Okay, next. I'm going to adjust my Conturo here. Okay, I'm just gonna adjust it here. Bring it down a little. I was doing 32mm banding this morning. Okay, I put it in like this. Back it up 1. Now, if I started this because of the curvature of the roll, like this would be in my way, right? So this is what this little piece is here. It holds your banding back. I'm gonna hit my go button. See how it pulled it in? And then I'm gonna come over here, just like this. These pads, I'm gonna say it again, hold it up above. So now I have the clearance for the bottom part of the banding. And look how easy this is. I'm just gonna hit my go button again. Now we got it coming out, baby. Look at that. And you see how I'm pushing it right up against there? It is effortless. Just like that, and as I bring it across, all that glue's in there, and there you go. Sometimes I'll take it and go like this, but it's unnecessary because of this feed roller is actually helping it burnish, and this roller as well. So there you go. That small piece is done very safely. Okay, now, where this really shines, and I have learned so much in utilizing this over the years. And I'm gonna tell you what, in the owner's manual of the angle unit is where I found this chart. And this is so important because I said, oh, this is 18mm plywood, I'll just use 18mm if I cut something at 45 degrees, okay? I want to put banding on there. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together because I just wanted to run it. But there's a chart in the angle unit. And I love this. I blew it up. If it's 18mm in thickness, okay, check it out. I need at 45 at least 31mm tall banding. If it's at 22.5, I need 24. And of course, at 0 degrees, I need 22. I get away with 20 on 18mm. But if you have different thicknesses, that's the thickness or the height you need. So if you have something 38mm tall, listen to this. You need 60mm tall if it's at 45. I hope everybody understands that. Okay, that is an irreplaceable chart. So I have 32mm banding, and I'm gonna run this 45. I'm just gonna crack it really quick, snap my tape, woo, just like this, boom, got it. And I'm basically ready to go. I gotta set the angle. And this is where I've learned a lot, and you'll see, I always have these on my table. I have one at 22.5, I have one at 45, and I have one at 30. See how I have all these cut on here? And there's a reason for that. There's a scale on the side here. All right, so I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna loosen this knob and this knob. okay? It sounds funny I'm gonna say this, but I've always considered, you're gonna see, there's a few positive detents in there, okay? But I always call this my rough scale. See how I've darkened the scale right here? I'm gonna bring it down to 45, okay, the detent, and I'm gonna lock it in. Okay, but what I always do is I grab my 45 angle here. Let me get that out of the way. And if that knob on that plate was still there, it would interfere with it. But what I like to do is I like to take it. Chris, can you get over here and see this? Look, I know my board's going up against here. I have my 1 millimeter there. Look, I check to see if I have it set right. So if it isn't a positive detented angle, what I'll suggest is cut an angle of, like, say it's 20, you got to cut at 36 degrees. There's not a positive detent on here, and if you look, that setting would be right about there, and you could line it up right there, see the arrow right there. But here's the situation, you're not sure. Set it up to this little white part right there. I know that's going to be applied at exactly 45 now. Hopefully you all understand. I know some people, or I've done this before, I can come over here and check my roller as well. I can check my burnisher in, or feed roller in there as well. But I always cut a small piece to check it. Woo! Now we got to set the height. So let's take it over here. We'll bring it over to the channel. I'll open it up a little. Okay, I'll bring it, a little bit more. I'll bring it in, just like this. I'll bring it down. It's tight. I'll back it just a little, and then I'll feed it in, just like this. And it grabbed, right? Okay, good. You see how that's holding it off, that little post right there? So I'll take this, I'll bring it just like this, and I'll hit my go button. Oh, there we go, come on, let's go, there we go. Beautiful, and that'll apply it really nice on there, just like that. Okay, and here we go. I got a little bit of a rough start, but that's how you do it, just like that, and that is a perfect application. Okay, I'm gonna let that glue dry. This is a good view of it. Look at all those lines. So when I put it up against that feed roller, what happens is that spreads it, so you have perfect adhesion all the way across there, just like that. Now it's funny, when I first saw this, I'm used to doing edge banding on just straight pieces, and someone said, well, this is a new trend that's happening. A lot of shelves get a certain angle on them. And I said, I've never seen that. And then I started walking around like IKEA and other stores, and a lot of times there's a lot of beveled goods that have edge banding on it nowadays. So this is an indispensable tool for the Conturo. Small pieces in angled units. When I talk about sanders, I talk about the different orbits in any training I've ever done on sanders. We've covered this category here, orbital, okay? That's the DTS, RTS series. And then what we're gonna cover today is random orbit. It's doing this orbit, but also spinning with a counterweight in it. It's a round pad, basically. Eventually we'll get into the Rotex, and we've covered almost everything in rotary, and that's the Planex sander. The Planex is a continuous on the Planex. The 2.0 is random orbit, but I'm not going to cover that today. Cool? Good. Okay, so here we go. Here's the questions that we get all the time. Oh boy. And I'm going to do it just like this. 5 versus 6. 3 versus 5. New versus old. Corded versus cordless. And in the midst of all of that, I'm going to explain what those numbers mean. Okay, so let's talk about 5 versus 6. In other words, we have 5-inch random orbit sanders and 6-inch. So for the North American market, or particularly US, I'm going 5 and 6-inch. Where around the world, 125 and 150 millimeter pad size. So maybe this will help you a little bit. I'm going to write it right down here, big D. When I was a kid, I was taught 25 millimeters was roughly what? 1 inch. So if I look at this pad here, and this is the ETS 125, 125 millimeters is what? It's 5 inches. So that's why the 150 and the 125. Okay, but it gets, so when somebody asks, okay, so the difference between the 5-inch and the 6-inch pads is 1 inch. I was taught it's 32.5% more pad on the 6-inch versus the 5-inch. Okay? Now, so someone will always ask, which one should I get? And I go, and I'll always, in a joking, but not really joking, I'll say, do you like to sand? You will get more done with a 6-inch versus a 5-inch. But here in North America, the standard platform is a 5-inch. We call them palm sanders. And yes, when you're doing a lot of vertical surface, this is a lot lighter. Okay? Or more ergonomic than this one. This is a lot heavier, the 6-inch. But this is the old series. They're still in at price point in our catalog and online. But we came out with these a few years ago. These are the EC motors, brushless motors, but the difference is this, and this is why I wanted to do this, old versus new. I want to create that drill down for you if you're trying to decide which sander you want in the random orbit category. I'm just going to grab this 3-inch, and I mean, oh my God, that's terrible, I said that. I'm going to grab this 6-inch and this 6-inch, and it's the ergonomics to this, okay? So, remember what I said a few moments ago? I said sanding on a vertical surface. This is a little top heavy, okay? But look at this one. This is perfect. We're basically putting a super ergonomic form for whether flat surface or a vertical surface. Every time I bring out either one of these to you when I'm demonstrating in person, I say, let's try this one. And then this one, and I go, which one do you like? And I go, every single person says this one. It's the ergonomics, and we've learned with it over time. So I just want to point that out. That is the difference between a 5-inch pad and a 6-inch pad. Or for everybody else around the world, a 125 versus a 150 pad. It's more surface area, so you're gonna get the job done quicker. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Whew. Minnie, did you understand that?
Yes.
Oh, I think she's kind of just saying that. Okay. Focus. She's writing a mile a minute. Okay. And I went through the ergonomics because I wanted to make sure you make the choice. If you can get yourself into a showroom of one of our system partners around the world to try either one, whether the tall one, as I call it, or the more ergonomic, the newer one, try both and decide, how long am I going to be using them? Okay, what's my fatigue ratio on this? And I'm going to tell you, at home, I have this one. I use this one because I like the weight of it. Because when I'm flattening or doing my final sandings on tabletops or build-ups or panels, I want that weight. I hope all of this is making sense. But yes, do I have one of these at home as well? Yes. Whew. Okay, now, next, I wanted to cover what we've gone through, whether on the older versions or the newer versions. This is one of the top questions we get. Big D, do you have this? Can you look on top here? Okay, these are identical sanders in each category, okay? The thing that everybody asks is a 3 and a 5 on the top here. That's the size of the orbit that are produced. A 3 is a less aggressive orbit, a 5 is a more, a 3 is a less aggressive orbit, a 5 is a more aggressive. So, so why would you want to sand slower? And that's the question, or why would you want a less aggressive orbit or a slower outcome? It's when you're finishing and polishing finishes. You're sanding in between coats of finish. Also, in a shop, I might put somebody in a 3 who's brand new so they don't burn through veneer, because 5 can be a very aggressive orbit, especially on this brushless motor version. Oh boy. So, what I learned early on when I first started at Festool, and I'm going to use these because they're a little bit easier to show. Don't do this at home. And Big D, I'm going to need a zoom right in on here, okay? When somebody says, what do you mean a 3mm orbit? I'll show you. I'll plug it in, okay? And you see this right here? You guys, everybody knows that if I put a lot of pressure on here, I can stop the pad. But I'm gonna actually hold it with my hand as I start it. I'm gonna put a dot right here. Okay, so you can see that. Big D, can you see that dot? So as I hold it, you see what appears? Can you see that with the camera? A circle. And the diameter of that circle is what? 3mm. So hear me out on this, or follow me on this. I'm going to take this and go like this, and I'm going to put a dot here. And this is the 5, and I'm going to turn it back around. So Big D, you got that? Okay. See that now? See the much bigger circle? So what's happening is that grit on here is being taken around the circumference. It's being taken on a longer orbit, and it's a more aggressive, it's a larger orbit. So it's that much more work it's doing versus the 3. So if somebody comes up and says, hey, which one should I get, the 3 or the 5? I'm automatically going to say, hey, do you finish finishes? And they go, yeah, that's okay. Go with the 3. Now, if somebody comes up to me, and I'm going to really confuse you now. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I'm looking to buy a random orbit sander, 6-inch, and I already have a Rotex RO150. Which one should I get? And I'll ask the question, okay? Do you sand finishes? They go, yeah. And I go, okay, perfect. Or I'll ask the application, what are you going to use it for a lot? If they say, hey, it's for another guy in the shop and he's just taking down material, I'll put him in the 5. The reason I'm saying that is when I put the Rotex in the random orbit, okay, mode, guess what it is? It's a 5mm orbit. So what may complement your Rotex is the 3, because that's your finish the finish sander. I hope all of that made sense, because that is one of our top questions we get when it comes to our 150mm sanders or 6-inch sanders. Good. Whew, man. You know what's great about Festool Live? You can go back and watch these, and you can say oh yeah, what did they say? Oh yeah, now I know how to, because you may not be in the market now, but eventually you may be in the market for one of these, and you may go, oh, okay, I get it. All right, now, this is still a very popular one here in our Festool system, because it is just, how do you say, it's a standard, I think, around the world, especially here in the US. And I always want to make sure that everybody understands all the cool technology inside these sanders. Go grab a sander from another brand. And this is something that I realized early on when I had one of these, okay? And people don't realize this. It's on all our sanders. It's this little piece of rubber right here. It's hard to see, okay? It's on all the sanders. It's right here. But you can really see it on the ETS 125 REQ. I'm calling the R out on that because that's important, okay? If I pull it back here, see this rubber? Okay, it's not a dust shroud. And they get these little carbide nodes in there. That pad, or this rubber, hits this pad right here. And if we come in and look, you can see where it's starting not to wear, but it makes contact with the pad. In other words, when I'm sanding with this, okay, and I turn it off, the pad stops. That's actually a pad break. Because it's making contact with the pad, it stops it within 2 or 3 seconds. Now, remember, Festool's a system. We're not going to get dust, okay? That's important. But also what's important is this on the dust extractor. Chris, you're going to have to come in here and get this. Because every time I sand, I always want to make sure that people see this. That's our variable suction. I'm going to put on manual. You hear that? Okay. Now, I'm going to put it on auto. Hey, Minnie, can you drop your dry erase for a second? I'm going to have you assist me.
I would be delighted.
Okay, Minnie's going to sand. Check it out. And she didn't know. Come on in, Min. Here, hey, guys, and gals
So easy,
watching, I just want you to see this is our real superstar in the room. Minnie, I'm going to have you sand with this, okay? And when you sand, I'm going to have you move it like this, okay? Go ahead. And as I do this, I'm going to turn it down. And you're actually, see how that broke the surface tension? It's actually starting to float. This is full suction. Okay? Now, and I can notice right now, the pad is spinning more efficiently. So it's just getting perfect, but also it's starting to float. And go ahead and turn that off, Minnie. No, watch.
Oh, there's a button there?
Perfect. Wow. Thank you, Minnie. And once again, thank you, Sparky. Okay. So, Minnie turned on the Bluetooth. She's so cute. Okay. All right. So, the reason I wanted to point that out, it's a system. It's just not the sander here. It's also our dust extractor. And that variable suction is another #1 feature on there that people ask questions about. Why variable suction? So, Minnie, when you were sanding, okay, it broke the surface tension, right? It's not pulling down to the material.
I had very light pressure on my hand. I didn't hang on to it. It didn't jerk away from me. It was all easy peasy, very light.
Wow, and she had no idea she was going to sand today. Wow, I want to buy one from you, Min. Okay, the important part of this is that's one of the features on our dust extractors to work with our sanders to absolutely create less of a chance of getting a swirl mark. Hopefully I said that correctly. There's a lot of other ways you get swirl marks. Inferior paper, too much pressure on the sander, you're staying in one area. But if you, and Minnie was perfect, she let the sander do the sanding. The real tool, I'll say this every single time I teach people about sanders, the real tool is the paper. You got to choose the machine, right, to move the tool. And I must be a broken record when I teach people about sanding. So that is one reason you get swirl marks, is there's too much pressure being put on the sander. Even if Minnie wasn't putting a lot of pressure, the vac could still, or CT dust extractor could still pull too much. We've released the surface tension of the sander. That's all I have to say about that. Now, corded versus cordless, and this is why I called out the REQ. You're gonna notice right here, there's a groove. That's important. We also have that groove right here on the cordless. See that groove? It must have an R on it because there's been other versions of the ETS 125. Okay, but make sure yours has the R, because what attaches to that is right over here. It's our what? It's our edge or profile sander. I think I did a whole Festool Live on it. This is an amazing attachment because it now takes your ETS 125 REQ or your ETS-C and makes it what? A right angle sander. And the best application is right here, a countertop. Okay, and I could take that, super simple, look. I take it like this. I bring it right to 90, right here. And I highlighted these angles. Sorry, trying to get the right camera angle and do this is a little difficult, but I'm going to tighten it up. And now I'm going to get a perfect 90, just like this. See that? In other words, I used to struggle with this in my shop in Fort Lauderdale, where using a belt sander, I got fairly proficient with it, but when I was doing mica tops, but I didn't want to get the bow in there, and that's really difficult to do. This here makes it absolutely perfect 90. So if you cut it at 90 and you get a little bit of wavy on there, man, just take this right angle attachment with the ETS REQ or the ETS-C cordless sander 125. It works perfect every single time.